So you've gone through and configured your overall nDTC. You've set up you've configured the initial setup and everything. And now, before you actually get to the point of creating schedules, you're going to want to go about to configure the devices that are connected to this nDTC, starting with the actual switch channels. So how one is able to access this is by actually navigating onto the nDTC as an admin. And in regards to this, you have to ensure that you enter the pin that you initially set up as you were configuring the device. So from that point, you want to navigate under technician mode. So we've got a technician mode section over here, for which under technician mode we have a wide set of options for you to actually go through and configure. In this case, because you are going about to configuring switch channels, you want to navigate under the channels tab or the channels dashboard, and from here you get exposure to all of the channels that are available, for local channels that are available to be configured and controlled by schedule through the nDTC. So you've got a full listing of the switch channels available, and you also have it in a tabulated way in such that you can also get access to occupancy channels as well as photocell channel. So let's begin with the switch channel. If you were to navigate onto the switch channel, you can actually go about to further configure it in such a way that if you want to modify the name, you can go about to doing that in such a way as well back here. So over here, I'm going to change the name to just be channel. So instead of it being channel 1, it is now referred to as just a standard channel. The other that you can also come to note is the control type of this particular switch channel. And as a default, that control type is of type slider. So from here, you have the ability to go through and select it to be any other type of channel as well that are available, between on-off to raise lower as well. Let's keep it as a slider just for this case. At the same time as well, you have the direct ability to go through and configure what output devices are actually tracking this channel, as well as what input devices are directly tracking this channel. So by that, you can go about selecting output devices, and from here, you actually get the full listing of all of these devices. So as you scroll through, you'll note that there are some devices that are enabled and some devices that are disabled. The ones that are enabled are actually devices that are tracking this channel. The ones that are marked as disabled are the devices that are not tracking this channel. You also have the ability to go through and actually curtsy each one or identify each one of those channels, each one of those devices accordingly as you want to determine whichever one it is that you want to associate with this, to track this particular channel. Similarly as well, you can do the same thing with input devices. So if you were to transition to input devices, you have full ability as well, or full visibility, to actually see which devices are actually broadcasting to this channel as well. You also have the flexibility to adjust these devices in such a way to ensure that they are also either broadcasting to this channel or are not broadcasting to this channel. One key thing to note, let's say for example, you've got the nPod M for SDX. If you were to look more specifically and more closely to it, you'll see that that particular device is showing up multiple times. It's showing up multiple times because for each one of the poles that are under this device, they do appear individually as if they were their own entities as well, or their own devices. So the 4S actually has 4 poles, and each pole is configured to be broadcasting to a different channel or to be controlling a different channel. And that's why it comes in that the first pole of the nPod M for SDX is actually associated with this channel. And it may be that the second pole is associated to channel 2, the third one is associated to channel 3, and the fourth one is associated to channel 4. And so you want to keep an eye out on these as well as you're going about to configuring a switch channel. But let's not just limit ourselves to this case. Let's also go through and take a look at occupancy channels. Occupancy channels are channels in which occupancy sensors broadcast to, and any output device can come about to also track occupancy channels. So what you can come to note then is, similar to the switch channel, you have the ability to go through and actually adjust the name of the occupancy channel. And you also have the ability to go about to adjusting as well what devices are tracking this occupancy channel, as well as what devices are broadcasting to this occupancy channel. So by here, if I was to navigate, you'll get the full listing of all of the output devices. And for those output devices that have multiple poles, you also have access to them back here. And if it is that there's any of them that you want to actually have it be that to identify, again, there's the identify button here available for that functionality. You can go back and do the same operation as well with actual sensor devices. What you'll note is I have 3 sensor devices and all 3 of them are broadcasting to this particular channel. You can also continue and do the same thing as well for photocell channel. Photocell channel function in a similar fashion as well, as such that if you were to log into a specific photocell channel, you have the flexibility to edit the name of that photocell channel. You have the flexibility to edit what devices are tracking that photocell channel, as in output devices, and you have the flexibility to also configure what input devices are broadcasting to this particular channel. And so by coming through here and configuring each one accordingly, that's how it is that you can go about to configure different zoning and such within your space. Upon completion of that, you can further go through and edit the input and output devices to the extent in which of your preference.